partners and stakeholders. And the Aswan Forum is convened by Egypt, owned by Africa, but implemented with this broad range of partners and stakeholders. And I would like to recognize and thank them, specifically the partners of this third edition of the Aswan Forum. The key partners are, of course, the United Nations and the African Union. They are present with us all along the deliberations of the forum and its preparations, but more specifically also the strategic partners of the forum. This year, the government of Japan, Sweden, as well as the African Development Bank, the supporting partners, the European Union, the International Organization for Migration, the institutional partner, UNDP, the partners, including the World Bank, UN Women, Twitter, as well as a corporate partner, EFGRMS, in addition to a range of knowledge partners of think tanks, research organizations, and different agencies and international organizations. We are extremely grateful for the support of all of them. This third edition marks an important milestone in the evolution of the Aswan Forum with a number of features. For the first time, we had a strong involvement of youth in this forum with a specially dedicated youth dialogue that brought together youth and climate constituencies with the peace and security constituency together. And some of the messages coming out from that dialogue, we hope, will be presented also at COP27. We take also this third edition a further step to put Aswan in practice and operationalize the discussions we have in the Aswan Forum through action-oriented results on the ground. And in this context, we presented for the first time a field study that was on the holistic approaches to combat terrorism in Nigeria with the Nigerian stakeholders. And we hope to continue to building on this Aswan Forum in practice as we move ahead. The success of any forum cannot be achieved without the speakers who, many of them traveled from a distance to be with us. It is very much appreciated, as well as the participants. Also the speakers, whether they were online, also virtually connecting has been also sometimes challenging, as well as participants. You are really the essential engine that makes the success of the forum, and we are very appreciative of your participation and active engagement with us. And finally, before I read the conclusion, also I would like to thank our interpreters who also have accompanied us for these 2 days, and without them also we would have not be able to communicate and to connect, which is the main goal of what we have here. And last but not least, the staff at the Aswan Forum Secretariat and the Cairo Center, who have been working very hard all year to make this forum a success. Thank you. So the Aswan Forum conclusions that I will read the highlights of now is a document that seeks just to bring together some of the key messages that have been discussed through the deliberations that have come out from the different sessions. And I will just, this document is still in the making, of course, and I'll just present highlights of it, but it will be made available through our communication channels within the next coming days when it is finalized. So I think that the highlight substantively of this session was the challenges facing Africa in an era of cascading risks and climate vulnerability. And I think a lot of what we discussed was around the responses to that challenge, to these interconnected risks and threat multipliers. And these conclusions presented now outline the parameters of a comprehensive framework that we need to anchor in the sustaining peace and development agenda, and to shape action by taking guidance from that framework to reinforce the resilience of our countries and of our communities that are impacted by conflict, by climate change, and other challenges we have been discussing. So the first pillar and important heading of these conclusions relate to strengthening our resilience in the face of cascading risks. And strengthening that resilience is multifaceted. It encompasses, in particular, developing the institutions in Africa at the national and at the community level that are equipped with the tools necessary to overcome these cascading risks in terms of prevention, response, and adaptation. So that is an important message under this highlight of the strengthening of resilience. And we need to make sure that the strengthening of institutions that we have discussed at different levels is embedded in our peace-building efforts, and in particular in the post-conflict reconstruction and development policy of the African Union and the newly launched AU CPCRD Center in Cairo. We have also heard throughout our discussions the importance of community resilience, community development approaches, and we need to ensure that our efforts are targeted to bolster this resilience, because communities are often at the front line of dealing and being impacted by these cascading risks, in particular women and men and youth, and they have a fundamental contribution to make to both dealing with climate change and strengthening peace building. So our first heading is about strengthening resilience in an era of cascading risks. The second, I think this also is a very strong message that came out from our discussions, is that we need to recalibrate the partnerships. We need, for this age, new partnerships and recalibrating existing partnerships to make sure that these partnerships adopt also holistic and integrated responses to the multiplicity of crises we are facing, while also going along with that, the need to amplify African voices in global governance and multilateralism. The importance of promoting equitable development also and regional cooperation within these context of this partnership has been highlighted. A very strong message in terms of this partnership that came out is that despite the changing geopolitical landscape, there's a very strong voice coming out of the Aswan Forum about the importance that Africa's peace, development, and climate priorities and needs remain at the top of the international agenda, and all the actors in this space are cognizant of that and recognize that despite the changing international circumstances we are facing. So resilience through institutions, recalibrating partnership, but of course financing was also a strong theme that came out of the forum, whether it's ensuring predictable, flexible, and long-term financing for peace building, scaling up climate financing and implementing global and climate commitments relating to financing, in particularly doubling financing for adaptation, and also ensuring that financing also takes on board these interconnected responses, that financing is dedicated to responses and to solutions that are inclusive, integrated, and holistic, and prioritize also the needs of young people and women, while also recognizing the importance the private sector role has to play in this context. Climate, peace, and development has been an important topic throughout our discussions, and I think throughout the discussions that this is not a new agenda, it's an agenda that needs to be embedded in resilience and development. And I think what we have tried through the topics to be discussed in this forum is that we need to continue to pivot the narrative and the conversation from one about climate, conflict, and threats to one about peace, resilience, development, adaptation. That is, I think, also a strong message that came out from this discussion, and that requires also a holistic approach and to strengthening African capacities and African voices in this discussion, also in the perspective of COP27, and ensuring also that the climate impacts we see in the security landscape are addressed by a multiplicity of actors that are cognizant of the interlinkages at hand. The climate security impacts, they often reveal or confirm the structural weaknesses and root causes of many countries in our continent. And so investing in addressing the structural vulnerabilities is of paramount importance in also reinforcing the resilience of our countries in face of this agenda. There is, in this context also, one of the important headlines was regarding the leveraging climate adaptation for peace building. There's really a very clear case for making climate adaptation and peace building better connected. And I think what we could say there is what we really need is a strategic recalibration of the existing architecture of policies, institutions, and partnership addressing these two issues to break silos and make them connect even further and ensure that there's mutual benefits between them. Under these discussions, we touched upon many issues, in particular regarding climate and displacement, for example, the nexus between water, food, and energy. And I think in all these discussions, again, the need for alignment and coordination in a framework that is cognizant of the risks of conflict, a framework that recognizes the importance of promoting peace and cooperation and mitigating the risks around these issues is very important. Finally, I think a lot, COP27 came out a lot in our discussions, and the perspective on how do we go forward, how do we take some of the messages here. I think the COP27 presidency has already identified climate, peace, and development as a priority area. And based on the deliberations we've had here, I think we will be looking at how to advance them, including through a potential initiative in this area to be presented at COP27, bearing in mind the importance of the integrated aspect of these responses around this initiative, the partnership, and that it is grounded in national ownership and context specificity around climate, peace, and development. So we look forward to continue engaged in this conversation that will not stop here. And I think we have a lot of work ahead. What we try to do, and many people mentioned this to me throughout the forum, that the connection between people coming to work together from different backgrounds, issues that are sometimes not apparently related, but the interlinkages between all the challenges and the interface between peace, security, and development, connected the people working on these issues, connecting the solutions to them, remains really an important objective. And I think once more in this third edition, with a focus also on the additional challenges brought by climate vulnerability, we have taken our collective endeavor and a collective action together one step further. Thank you very much.